Yeah.
And I've just been lied to so much lately, you guys. I'm not even sure the earth is round anymore. I mean, everything that I was taught in school.
I know.
Right. And autism was exceedingly rare. It was like 1 in 11,000 and mostly striking males, because it's like 1 in 6 male children are born autistic. That's environmental. My son was getting fried. He could not experience peace. It was driving him nuts. I can't believe he held it together as long as he did. Whether or not it's bad for you is really no longer up for debate. You got to take your own power back. You got to be your own doctor. You got to be your own warrior.
Welcome to Under the Sun Podcast. I'm Ilea.
And I'm Irene. Grab a cup of coffee and your comfiest sweats and join us every Monday as two best friends discuss everything from raising free-range gremlins to business and really everything under the sun.
Let's get started, and thanks for being here. Happy Monday, everybody, or whenever you're listening to this. This is part 2 of our conversation with BD of Satic Shield, an EMF protection company that we found on Instagram, and now we are absolutely in love with them. Like, our house is going to be different now, especially if you heard the first episode. Yeah. It just gave us like helpful tips of even things we don't have to necessarily buy. Yeah. You know, like they give us things we could buy and things that we could just do today to change our life.
Yeah, lots of great resources.
So this is part 2 of that conversation. You're going to freaking love it. Let's go.
Well, even like at my house, my kids are 3 and 5. They have never slept through the night. And now at the point, now I'm wondering, I can always tell my kids will wake me up. Either I have to go potty or I need water. And I'm like, oh, it's 3 o'clock. I don't have to look. They've been waking up at 3 o'clock for years. And that's how I know. It's always 3 to 3:30.
Something's waking them up.
Interesting.
Little kids sleep the best. They can sleep like this. Their arm is like that. You know, we all know little kids sleep, hanging off the bed. No, they should be out. If something is waking them up, especially since it's both of them. Yeah,
because I would just assume it's, they're drinking too much water. But also, like, I've never met any other kid that has had to pee in the middle of the night as much as my kids do. I'm like,
no,
shouldn't you just like wet the bed or sleep?
Thing. That's not a 7-year-old little boy thing.
Interesting.
So when Lily, my assistant that just was in here, when we did this game at her house, when she moved into her new apartment, I immediately went over, brought all the toys and said, okay, we're gonna clean the house. Right beside her daughter's bed, this was maxed.
Wow.
When we did it, it was like half as bad. No, it was maxed right where she was sleeping. And I was like, why? And I couldn't even figure out what was causing it. We went outside and there were probably 20 smart meters on a wall. Now that was an apartment removed. Those people in that apartment, are they dying? I mean, I don't even know. We thought about just knocking on their door and saying, not to be weird, but
are you all okay?
Yeah. Behind, right? Yeah. So what we did is we slid this right against the wall, right? She has a bunk bed. She's only one person. She's a bunk bed. She sleeps on the bottom, and just right along that whole wall where she sleeps and plugged it in, and it's at 0. It's at 0. So for $150, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
that's incredible.
In this current climate, in this current world where we don't value children as much anymore, I think like our kids are getting blasted with like, it's like, oh, hey, here's your, like, go to school. Here's this iPad. Here's this laptop. Do everything online. And then they're sitting in this tin prison of EMFs. And they're like, oh, your kid has ADD. Oh, no, he's the 1 in 6 or whatever the statistic is now. And it's, wow, what a good thing. I think this conversation is going to change a lot of parents' minds. A lot of moms listen to us and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, maybe it's not my kid. Maybe I wasn't one of the unlucky ones. Maybe it's their environment. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So when I was
and it's good to know there's something like, we can't just move to the middle of the woods. And even if you're in the middle of the woods, you're going to get blasted with something or eaten by something. But it's nice to know there are things. Like if you're in an apartment, you don't necessarily have to think, oh, great, now I have to uproot my family and move my house. Like,
right.
It's comforting to know there's things out there to help.
So we make a couple of videos. In one of my videos with Satic lights, I would love it if you watch some of my reels. I only do the 90-second guy, so I won't bore you to death, a classroom. And the little guy in the classroom is moving around. He's climbing, he's scratching his bottom. He's hitting this kid. He's up on the table.
I think that's how we found you.
Yeah,
I think that's the one.
Right?
I think that's the one I was like, we should have these people on. Like we should. Okay.
You change the light and all of a sudden he's sitting down in the front and learns to read and he's the best student. It wasn't him. He's not a naughty little boy. He was getting fried.
Yeah.
Now
and he was just more sensitive.
He's in trouble. He's not getting an education. and he's not benefiting. And now he's the star student. This is life-changing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is all like, now it's just unraveling in my brain because this is too much information and nobody cares. But like between buying this homestead and selling our last house, we stayed in a medium-term rental in the middle of town. And like, remember Leo's sleep was just like terrible. I was like, what's happening? People are like, oh, it's the 18-month regression. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that's just, I think all these labels we just slap on. It's like, oh, 18-month regression. Oh, terrible twos. All these things that we just slap these labels on kids. It's like, is it, or is it something environmental? But then we like moved here and I'm a psychopath with my child a little bit. And I was like, Dave, I want a baby monitor, but I don't want any Wi-Fi. So I want hardline. So my blessed, beautiful husband has run hardline internet all the way up to our TV in our room, to her baby monitor in her room. And then like, just basically we just moved in here. So it's still going, but like, it's just now it's unlocking my brain. It's like, oh yeah, we were in the middle of town where we had literally no protection at all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But also like what a blessing. Because like, you know, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, you're just trying to shame parents into purchasing things. And it's like, no, like if we know better, we do better. And if it makes you like, it's sometimes a hard truth to be like, oh, maybe it's the environment I put my child in and that I need to correct something, you know? Yeah. And there's no shame in that. That's just, let's just do better.
No, of course not. That's shame. That's nonsense. Yeah. When I was a little kid, the only person that I knew that had autism was Doug Flutie's son, little Dougie. So I love Doug Flutie because he was a 5'9", Division I quarterback, won a Heisman, and we had a really great pro football career at 5'9" as a quarterback. It's unheard of, right? Yeah, I remember when his son got autism in the early 90s. And Wheaties did a special thing called Flutie Flakes. And all the money that came from the Flutie Flakes went to autism research. And autism was exceedingly rare. It was like 1 in 11,000 and mostly striking males. Well, then it went to somedemic to pandemic to, there's even another word past that right now because it's like 1 in 6 male children are born autistic. That's environmental.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something in our environment that's causing that. And then, you know, since we are water and metal now, are the lights exacerbating that? Are the Wi-Fi towers exacerbating that? Is the dirty electricity and wiring exacerbating that? I'll argue, how could it not?
Yeah.
None of that stuff leads to ease. A lot of people, when we plug these units in, literally say they can feel it right then. I can't. I don't want to be
I bet you I could. Yeah, I'm hella sensitive.
I believe you probably could. And so what a lot of our influencers and our dealers will do is they'll have the family sit in the living room, sit Indian style, get peaceful, get kind of grounded. And then when they're facing one direction, plug it in or unplug it. And then ask the family, can you feel it? And nearly all the females in the family can feel it almost 100%. Sometimes the males, not as much, female biology more, but you know, he can plug it in, unplug it, they get it right 100% of the time. They can feel it. And when we've interviewed them, like, what's that feel like? The words that they use are calmer, quieter, peaceful. Well, who doesn't want calm, quiet, peaceful?
Yeah.
We're searching for that. And then for the little people, and usually it's oftentimes little boys who are affected by it, they can't experience calm. They can't experience quiet. They can't experience peace. My son was getting fried. He could not experience peace. It was driving him nuts. I can't believe he held it together as long as he did.
Little buddy.
Right? Shoot, man.
Yeah.
So I don't like to deal or trade in fear, but it's upon us. I mean, the death dealing and fear, it's been forced at our door. We're not trading it. It's been forced at our door. That's when you can win. You put this behind your dang bed. You put one by the smart meter. You plug a couple of these in. You swap out your light bulbs. You did it. You got it. And now you walk around with your 2 meters and you read it and you're good.
Yeah.
You've done it. And if you ever move, take the crap with you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to order some light bulbs for sure.
Yeah.
Because my son is more sensitive than my daughter in certain ways. And we've talked about it before because it's like he doesn't have any, I mean, he has the heavy metals that he gets, but he didn't have any injected into him. And he is just more sensitive to like emotion and even more. So that's interesting that boys feel it more.
Yeah.
Or it hits them more.
It's like you sit down, the females can tell whether or not it's plugged in
Yeah.
But it's the little boys who are tortured by it.
Yeah.
You know? So we want to do a special whenever we do a podcast. We do a special, and I know you girls have asked for nothing. You've asked, this is not quid pro quo. This is just doing a podcast. But when people hear, we want people to move to action, because a lot of times you hear something, you go to a great seminar, you get all this great information, you mean well, you plan to, and you don't. We will do a coupon. We'll do a coupon code that you guys will pick the name of it. Let's pick a coupon code. We'll do 15% off the whole store, and we'll do free shipping. And if anybody has questions, I think what really sets my brand apart is that we've got a room full of people here that aren't on some foreign land. They're in Missoula, Montana. They take these calls all day. They hear the stories. They are in touch with how people are truly suffering, and will take the time to listen to the story and prescribe exactly what you need and get you the products you need on a discount. And we don't just have money back guarantee. We give you a full month once you started testing it, not from the day you buy it. Because if you buy it today, it's going to take 2 or 3 days to get it. It might be 2 or 3 days before you get at it, right? And then if you have to have something installed, that could take time. That could dip into your return policy. We wait until you have it hooked up. Then you're invited to call. And if you're open to it, my team will call. Okay, do you got your meters? Do you know how to read them? Do you know what you're looking for? No, I don't. And if they need one, we lend the meters all the time. Here, this is what you need. Take this stuff, get your stuff installed, get it right, send it back. Sometimes they send it back.
That's
sometimes
amazing.
they just say, I want to have it. But I mean, our customer care is top shelf. So that A,
awesome.
you get what you need, and B, you're not hoping that it's working. You're not hoping that the woo-woo crystal or the sticker is working. You can see it on a meter. You know, and not to marginalize those things. I'm just very male biology. I want to see it on a meter.
Yeah.
And I've just been lied to so much lately, you guys. I'm not even sure the earth is round anymore. I mean, everything that I was taught in school.
I know.
Right? So I was taught that sugar was bad and aspartame was amazing. But now we know it's friggin' embalming fluid. It's formaldehyde. And it's poisonous. That's why you can't cook with it. I was taught that coconut oil was fattening and cheap and the death. And that I had to use margarine, which is friggin' seed oils. And coconut oil is a superfood, and coconut and avocado oil is bad, and it's a superfood. And that you should use sunscreen when now we know the sun's not bad for you. God put it there. It's not bad for you. It's good for you. What's poisonous is sunscreen. And when you read the ingredients on little kids' sunscreen, they add 3 more ingredients, and they're nothing but poison. And then I found out, so I'm on my ski boat, and I love to be brown in the summer. Western Montana, we don't get a lot of it.
Must be nice.
I cover myself in coconut oil, and people always tease that you're going to fry like a piece of bacon. I never do. I don't burn. I get super brown. I recently found out that coconut oil is SPF 7.
Okay.
Come on. Like, who knew that? Yeah. So not to be on a tangent, but it seems like so many things that I were taught that were good for me are bad for me. Fluoride in my waters for my teeth. Right. And so many things that I know now are healthy, like coconut and avocado oil. I was told those were poison. And I don't think that my 7th grade teacher was nefarious. God dang Rockefeller Institute taught him lies that he passed on to me. That I passed on to my kids.
Birds of a feather.
Well, I like the scientific approach too, more than, because I'm a girl, but I'm not as like feely. I need to know. If I'm going to spend my time and my money, I need to know it works, not feel that it works. But, and now with AI, it's like, I used to think with Photoshop, I was like, oh, well, if someone tells me I won't believe it, but if I see it in a picture, I'll believe it. Well, then Photoshop. And now I'm like, oh, well, if I see it on a video, because photos lie. Well, now they have AI. And I'm like, well, unless I see it with my own eyeballs, I'm not going to believe a thing. So unless you have the test in your hand, then it's hard to believe.
What's interesting though, like you're not as feely, but I'm not feeling in like a, oh, I wear crystals around my neck and it brings positive energy. But I am highly sensitive. But I think my parents fostered that. Like my dad, like I remember being like 5 and my dad taking me to business meetings and saying like, hey, what did you think of that man? And I was like, he's scary. I think he's a bad guy. And then he wouldn't do the deal. And it would turn out that he was like a not a good guy, a shady guy. And he would always, I never knew it at the time. He's like, oh, I always listen to you. I always listen to you. I always listen to your mom when you said something is not right. And like, it's just a discernment thing that by the grace of God that we have it. But also like when it comes to sunscreen and coconut oil, it's like, God doesn't make broken systems. Like we keep trying to interject like, oh yeah, here's this thing. It's like, no, now we need to intervene like with, you know, shields and things because we have no other choice.
Yeah. And I also really like to refrigerate my quarter cow that I get. So
yeah. Yeah.
What was that?
I really like to refrigerate my quarter of a cow that I get. So it's like, I don't want to go so far that I don't have a refrigerator, but I also don't want to die from the refrigerator. So,
okay, let's talk about that just real quick. Microwaves.
The devil.
Okay. I'll tell my husband that. Okay, real quick, rapid question. Where do you carry your phone?
Not on my person.
David, my husband, do you hear that? I'm gonna send this clip to him later.
Not on my person. So we all have these little bags, and do they work? Yeah, a little bit. They're lined with this. And so if I'm going to transport it, I'll transport it in my hand and then put it down. It's not going to be in my pocket. My phone is not, and maybe for 1 second when you have to pick something up, but I do not live with my phone in my pocket or on my person. One of the most compelling podcasts I ever listened to was probably 10 years ago. I don't even know if it was a podcast. I don't mean to be disingenuous. This was a long time ago. It was an interview, and there was a woo-woo gal, and she was talking about cellular damage and tumors caused by iPhones specifically. Now, this handsome young oncologist comes on, and he's probably 35. He's beautiful to look at. He's well-spoken. He's intelligent, and he just waxes her britches. And he really talks down to her, and she's talking about, you know, Wi-Fi and EMF and all these things. And he said, there's no research, clinically tested, blah, 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 blah. Spoke harshly with her and burned her down. Well, maybe 15 or 16 months later, they're back on re-interview, and I watch it. And he says, first of all, I'm ashamed at how I spoke to you. He said, the fact that we didn't agree on something and that I thought you were wrong did not give me the right that I felt I had to speak to you rudely. He says, I spoke down to you. And when I hear that interview, I cringe at the way I spoke to another person. He was very gracious. And he said, continuing on that, I now remove 1 to 2 cell phone shaped tumors from healthy young breast tissue every day.
Yeah.
Wow.
They put their iPhone. My iPhones used to be little. Remember, this is pretty old stuff. It used to be little.
Used to tuck it right
slip
there
it in their sports bra. And so they've got this totally healthy, beautiful, young, vibrant, 25, 35-year-old lady. She's sporty. She's doing all the things. You know she is. She's in California. And yet she's got that phone in that same spot. And they were removing her breast and removing this iPhone-shaped tumor. And he said it's undeniable. He says do not keep your phone there. And it was one of the most compelling things that I heard because it was very authentic. I loved how vulnerable he became. And then, so I got one more really fast. This young man was walking by the railroad tracks to and from work all the time. And railroad tracks, that's odd stepping, right? It's got the rocks and the things. And he slipped and fell and landed on his hip. And landed on his hip right on the metal track. It really hurt. Well, when he got to the hospital, it had shattered his hip and his femur, shattered it. And they're like, this guy's 25. He's healthy. Yeah. He walks to and from work. He had kept his cell phone right in that right back pocket all the time. That's where he kept it all day, every day. And it had so deteriorated the bone that it crumbled it. I mean, will he ever walk the right way again? He'll never run again, I doubt. I mean, so again, whether or not it's bad for you is really no longer up for debate.
Yeah.
We know it is. And so now as a smart, intelligent person, you got to take your own power back. You got to be your own doctor. You got to be your own warrior. And I always start with do what you can for free, empower yourself with knowledge, to turn crap off, don't charge it by you, and then spend a couple $100, and just like you would on organic food, just like you would on a water filter, just like you would on your vitamins, and protect your family. The nice thing about our products, I believe, is that they're not consumables. Like I love a brand called Purium because it's juicing without juicing. It's one of the only supplement things I take. Of course, I take my vitamins. Of course, I try to eat fresh and organic. All that's very expensive. right? And I work out all the time. So I'm a member at a bunch of clubs. I do Orange Theory and all that crap. I spend about $1,000 a month, you guys, being healthy.
Yeah.
I really do. Where a whole suite of our products might actually be $1,000, but you're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah.
They all have super long warranties. You've done it. Yeah, it hurts the first time, but at least it's not a consumable. It's a one and done.
Yeah. But you also have to, you invest somewhere either way. You either invest in your sickness or you invest in your health. Like, that's when like people are like, oh, you like eating organic is impossible. It's too expensive. Trust me, like we're on a one income budget right now, like because, you know, we chose to prioritize raising our daughter and trying to grow our own food, and that stuff takes time. But like you invest in something either way. You invest in your sickness or your health. But
yeah, because I'm sure removing a cell phone shaped tumor is not cheap either.
No, but it feeds pharma. But
right.
But there's also like there's this problem that we see, and this is again a tangent, but when we post stuff, whatever the topic, people are like, I need a scientific study. And it's like, do you need a scientific study to take a dump in the morning? Like, no, it's like, it is, why do you need it? Like, just common discernment and reason and logic, but that stuff's dead today. Like, that's, people can't think for themselves. They need a scientific study or a doctor.
They're not going to read the scientific study.
No, it's hard.
Really pours over the research.
No, I try. It's so boring. And like, I'm like, oh my gosh, but I try to look at, I mean, you know, back when everybody was trying to force the jabby jab, like I was in the scientific journals, like, because everybody, I was pregnant, people were like, you have to get it to protect your baby. And I was like,
you'd have miscarried. You'd have miscarried.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. And like, it gives me goosebumps and it sickens me because I never wish this upon them ever. But there are people I know personally who got it when they were pregnant and at every single stage lost their child, and they're like, oh no, it's just a fluke. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. Like, but then what are you supposed to say to that? Like, it's just, anyways, it makes me sick. But people, the numbers
of the fact that they didn't report all those miscarriages properly is also criminal. That is criminal. People that got the shot, especially if they got a booster while pregnant, they lost the baby.
Yeah
They did.
Or the baby came out with like now probably a long-term issue.
Back's injured, myocarditis or whatever in the baby. And it's honestly, it's so nefarious.
I'm so grateful for 2020. I know there's a lot of hardships that happened, and it was like, it sucked for a lot of it, but and like our careers were derailed, like my career was derailed, but like it has been such a blessing in disguise because it has propelled me into being a more informed mother. That like less is more. And also I'm her best advocate. No random doctor who sees her once I mean, we don't do that, but like if we were to follow any form of like visit schedule, like I'm not going to trust one doctor that sees her for 5 minutes to tell me what is best for her. Like, I'm her mother. I see her every day. I know her. I know what her smile means. So anyways, taking back the authority of parenthood and being like, nope, I'm her advocate.
He was programmed by the Illuminati to say something and do something, and he's not going to vary from that programming. He's going to do the Illuminati programming.
We do. She had one visit, just because my husband is not as deep into the hole as I am.
He's done very well, though.
He's come so far.
We broke him.
I broke him for sure. He's deep in, like, we're living on a homestead. We're about to butcher a bunch of birds. Yeah, like we're like, he's invested. But like the pediatrician that she visited once, and it's her kid's pediatrician too. Like, he is a God-fearing man, and we literally walked in, and he was like, I was like hella nervous, and he was like, this child doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to the system. It doesn't belong to this organization. It belongs to you and your husband, and God has given you the proper tools to raise it and do what's right. So I'm just here to make sure you guys feel comfortable, and that if you have any questions, I'm here. And he like gave us his cell phone number, and then we walked out, and that was great. Like, and he's an older generation of doctor. He's in his 60s, late 60s. So like, I don't think they exist that much anymore.
Well, and they do exist, and some people can get outside the programming. Right. I mean, we've done it. We're trying to exit the matrix to the best of our ability. Right. So it's not like they can't do it. Most don't. For a lot of people too, the cognitive dissonance, it's too much. The idea that fallen angels rule a cabal of families that have been in power since Nimrod and Babylon, who now own the Federal Reserve and the IRS, the FDA, and any three-letter agency is rogue and criminal and run by them. And the politician is merely a bought and paid for puppet who has been filmed doing terrible things and paid ghastly amounts of money, will do what they're supposed to do. Yep. And then part of that is keep us dumb, keep us sick, keep us weak, get the women infertile, and get the testosterone numbers really low on men. Because
so
what it will take to turn this stuff over is alpha males.
Yeah.
And that's who it's going to take. Like if someone's harming you, you don't scream for another girl. You just don't. You need a man.
Yeah. No,
you need
for
a man
sure.
to come stop that man, and it needs to be a formidable guy on a mission. And so they have soybean, man bun, kale chip, crocked us out of it. And I see these young guys. And he's got a man bun. He's in Crocs. He's eating kale chips for energy with his yoga mat. And I'm like, man, he's not stopping anybody.
Yeah.
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 Right.
Right. Like, yes, because all of this deprogramming, like, I'm so grateful because, like, and this is also a side tangent, but we were sold this feminist lie. Like, our generation was sold like, oh, you don't need a man. Like, you need a girl boss and do your own thing. Being a stay-at-home mom is worthless.
You're too smart to be a stay-at-home mom.
Like, we just did a whole thing of like, no. We're being bred basically to not have a motherly instinct anymore.
Yes.
And like, for some reason we escaped that. Thankfully, probably because our parents raised us in a sound household, as sound as they could, because they did the best they could with what they had. But like, I'm so grateful that, like, because I could have very easily not gotten married and been like, because I remember saying like, I don't want kids. It's a death trap. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I don't need a man. I'm a girl boss. I'm going to make my own money. I'm never going to rely on a man. Now, I mean, flash, I'm 31 and
now they're all 50 and
alone and grumpy
and miserable. What did you win? You for 6,000 years, you got to stay home, raise your own kids, and just tidy up the house 5 minutes before he gets home.
Yep.
And that's what my mom did. I have a traditional family. My mom never worked, and I watched my mom. She would read romance novels on the couch, eating a bag of Lay's potato chips, the golden ones, and drinking a Pepsi. And 15 minutes before my dad gets home, she'd go, oh, crap. She'd jump up, she'd vacuum, she'd sweep, she'd do the magazine, she'd do the pledge, she'd get something cooking, and he'd come in, it would be clean, the candle was lit. She'd be sweating like she'd been working all day. But I would go, oh, my God, you're such an amazing woman. Kiss her. She'd wink at me. And they're still together. And
I love that story so much.
When women said, okay, we're going to go to work too, what did they win?
Nothing.
You had a robot that would obey you and bring you food and meat.
Yeah.
And men love it. That's our programming. Is to just go get meat and bring it home.
Yeah. It's this whole long-term indoctrination of like, no, men and women are the same. Like, no, we both have value. Like, we're not saying that women are lesser than or anything. It's just that we have different strong suits. The multitasking I can do with our child around is like, it is so much more than what my husband can do. And there's a reason for that, because he is designed differently, and that is okay. Yeah. You don't have to be the same.
Okay. So
anyways,
on a baseball team, you've got the pitcher who delivers the ball. You've got the shortstop. When that ball is ultimately hit, this guy is going to stop it. Now, if you've got the best pitcher on the planet, but no shortstop, you'll lose every game. All 163, you'll lose them all. You have the best shortstop on the planet, but no pitcher, you'll lose all 163 games. You got a mediocre pitcher and a mediocre catcher, you're going to the playoffs. Does it even matter who's better or the roles? We're a team. Yeah. And we got things that we do well, and we're going to bring what we've got to the table, and we're going to do it, and we are different. That's how we have completeness. You got two pitchers or two shortstops. It doesn't make any sense. God created us, man and woman, to be a package and be a team. And in the Bible, it's pretty clear that when you marry your person, you become one person, one complete person. And in Genesis, when the living God gave Eve to Adam, it says, and she was a complement to him. That was written in Hebrew. And when you actually read complement in Hebrew, it reads more like she completed him. She was the girl's side to him. And so when you're really a team, then you can say the man can share his feelings vulnerably. I would like it on a bluff so I could defend it. Yeah. And the woman could say, I would like it with some shade where I can see my babies from wherever I'm at. I can see them. Or if I'm going to get the water, I'd like it by, a nice water source. And he might say there's good hunting or whatever. It's not a competition. It's this beautiful blend of seeing it through another set of eyes, a set of eyes that isn't competing with you. They're adding value. Yeah. And you're enriched by each other. You're not diminished by each other. You're enriched by it.
Yeah. Man, I think we're best friends. I'm not. Because all of these things that I've been deep diving into since basically 2020, you basically brought up most of them. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Do you have any final questions or anything we didn't cover that you would like to cover? Because I know we've taken more time than we had planned, but it's been such a lovely conversation.
Yeah.
Anything you want to cover?
You guys are really easy to communicate with. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome
I think
anytime.
for the most part, just they cover it. And so I always like people to know they're real. And one of the ways I show people real is I hand people a set of magnets. And I don't care how old you are, playing magnets is fun because you put them on the same pole and they push apart and you can't see it.
Yeah.
But not being able to see it doesn't make it not real.
Yeah.
You go like this, and it's real beyond contestation. You don't need to be able to see something for it to be real. So the fact that a field like that exists it's beyond intelligent argument. And unfortunately, we're simply being overexposed and it's bad for us. So not to deal or trade in fear. Fear is at our doorstep. You're not alone. You're not powerless.
Yeah.
We're gonna band together, groups like ours. We're gonna share knowledge.
Yeah.
And then within each one of us, our own power, we're gonna do our best to help ourselves and then our families and share it, right? Because we are a community. Yeah. There's always more that we're alike. There's always more things that draw us together than the one or two things they poke to divide us. Because as human beings, we don't want to be divided. We want to be loved.
Yeah.
We want to be loved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wrote a song because I'm a performer in my past life prior to 2020.
Cool.
But I wrote a song, but like one of the taglines is there's more of us than there are them. And it's like, it's true. Like there's more of us than we realize once we start having these conversations and start actually like navigating within our own value system instead of like compromising on a whole bunch of our values. It's just there's a lot of us. There's a lot of us that are now waking up and making the difference, whether it's they're just starting the journey or you're 4 years in like me. / my dad knew the moon landing was fake, and he said that to me as a kid for for a long time. So I've been growing up in this in a long time. I just thought he was wackadoo, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad, you were right about everything. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But okay, one final question. Thank you for that. We will get together with you on getting the code, and we'll put it in the description.
Yeah.
I just have one final question.
You're fine.
AirPods.
What?
AirPods.
No,
Yeah, I mean,
I know,
yes.
bad. So the way they work is they literally use the water in your brain to send the signal through. I like to be a person of moderation. Again, like I said, you wouldn't smoke 2 packs a day, but if you had smoked 1 cigarette in a hot tub one night in a weak moment at the ski resort, I think you're okay. We are pretty robust creatures. So occasionally for a few minutes a day, maybe while you're on the tread, you bet, but you wouldn't want to live in it. You wouldn't want to live in them because, a little exposure is probably fine. Not for someone for my child, no. But for people that aren't oversensitive, a little bit of some stuff is probably okay. Don't overdo it. Just like anything else, moderation.
BD, this has been such a great conversation.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for being here. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Kind of, but it could start a long conversation. So it depends on timing. But have you ever met anybody that are more, I don't know how to say it, but like electric than others?
Oh, I know where you're getting.
Because my husband, long story long, I guess. My husband can always set off those little things for electricity. He was a carpenter, so he has all these tools around, and he has this electric thing to see if there's electricity when he's going to go test an outlet or something. He always sets it off. Like I held it to my kids, nothing happened. He holds it to me and it beeps. He also wore an Apple Watch for a little bit, burned his skin.
Yeah.
He has shut down hard drives, shut down computers. So does that make him more sensitive or less sensitive? Or does that even correlate at all? But it's so weird. He shocks everybody all the time.
He's always drained batteries and watches, like even just regular old
We were
watches.
even at a museum once. My dad's a civil engineer, very logical. And there's this thing where you put your hands on and two people, you can see how high you can get this thing to go. He puts his hands on there and it jumps. My dad was looking under the machine. He's like, you're tricking it. There's no way you're doing that by yourself. And he's like, I don't know why. It's just doing it. None of us together could get it as high as he could get it by himself. And he says that he's been that way his whole life. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Okay. So we'll go there a little bit. And first of all, I'll say, yep, I meet him all the time. and they kill stuff. They can't wear a watch. They can't be by your laptop. They fry things. Jessie in our office is one of them. Not on that high of a scale, but she'll ruin it. It will start acting up when she's got it.
Darn it, Jessie.
I can no longer wear metal, and I don't know why. I can't wear an Apple Watch or even a regular watch anymore. It burns my skin.
Okay.
And I don't know why. That's new. But we are all electric. So, and we work on electromagnetism. That's literally how we work. Okay. So if I, move my arm, there's no pulley. It's an electric signal. Okay. So that electric signal has got to pass through my nervous system. Okay. How does electricity pass? So you're a battery. We are a battery, and we're DC. We're direct current. What makes a battery work is chemistry. A battery has chemistry. So if someone says the battery is lead acid, that's the chemistry, or lithium ion. That's the chemistry. Lithium cobalt, lithium phosphate, that's the chemistry. So if you overcharge it one time too high, you can kill its chemistry. Undercharge it too much, kill its chemistry. Okay, where am I going? Our chemistry is a pH balance of 0.74. Is it 6.4? Is it 7.4? It's 7.4. That is a slightly alkaline. Goes from 1 to 14, 7 being the middle, 7.4 being on the alkaline side, and that chemistry totally affects your continuity, your electric conductiveness, how conductive you are. So nowadays we end up getting in a very acidic pH balance because of all the toxins, processed foods, sugar, pop, beer, alcohol. All the nummy things make us very acidic. When you become acidic, something happens. So your blood cells are supposed to have a negative charge. Why? Because magnets on the same pole will bounce apart, right? Okay. So your blood cells have this negative charge. That's how they bounce and can move one at a time and not clog. When your blood starts to get acidic, it scrubs that negative charge off. Now they start to clump. Now they start to tick. Now you have less cellular health because every cell needs to be fed, watered, and it needs to eliminate, right? So doing that effectively. So I would be interested in your husband's pH balance. Okay. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. He just has clearly a really good electromagnetic charge. And I can't explain it any differently than what I just did my best to do, but I see these people in real life and they exist. They are out there, man. Yeah.
Yeah. People always said like, "Oh, you're just making that up," and he's like, "No, like I can't do it." Yeah, yeah.
Well, and their family,
my dad's like that too.
So I married her brother. I don't know if we said that.
We're sisters.
Okay, all right, cool. So you guys are good pals.
Oh yeah. But their family.
I'm trying to get them to move on our property in their RV. Yes. Like that's how close we are. I'm like, come here, let's raise our children together, compound style. Let's do it.
I'm ready. Yeah. But no, their family used to be able to. Through her grandpa's side, find water. So I was talking with him one day. I was like, I wonder if your ability to have that much electricity contributed to your family's ability to find water with a stick.
Yeah.
But that was just all theory.
Could do it. My mom's dad.
Yeah.
He could do it. He would take just 2 pieces of welding rod, bend them into little handles, walk out, and they'd cross.
Yeah.
And you go right there.
I think it's but we've been inundated with this dysregulation in our nervous system, and that's why we've lost these these things that God gave us to survive, and yet it's all amazing. Oh my gosh, we've taken so much of your time.
Thank you for giving us all this time.
Incredible. You're welcome on here anytime. I cannot wait to see the shorts that come out from this. We will post all the links in the description below. Thank you so much, BD, for being here. We really appreciate you.
My pleasure, you guys.
In the podcast, you may have heard that we have a code. It is code UTSP. That will give you 15% off of your order from Satic Shield. That was so sweet of him because that wasn't something we even talked about prior to the podcast. That just came about, which was so kind.
Yeah, generous company. We want to guide people to use companies that are, American made, real people, not just made in China, random places. Like these are real salt of the earth people, and we're really excited to partner with them on this episode. So UTSP, and you'll get 15% off your first order. Is that what you said?
I think so. Let's stop radiating our families.
Woohoo! Okay, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye. Why do we always say bye?
I love it.
I do too, but
that's now we need a shirt on shirts.
But like the bye, but the B goes bye, like it level.
Thanks for being with us today. Follow us on Instagram at @underthesun_podcast. We'd love to meet you.
Please help us out by subscribing on YouTube and leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time. Please remember this information is made available to you for informational and educational purposes only. It is in no way a substitute for medical advice.